Hey guys, Gary J here, and today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite boats of all time, and this is the Waterbug boat by B&W Plastics Incorporated in Brooklet, Georgia. Now here's a view of the boat here, and some of you people may recognize this design. And the Waterbug boat, again, was made in Brooklet, Georgia. There were two men that got together and created a company, which was a pretty good sized company. I've been by the company on the way to Savannah a few times. And the two people that started this business with the Waterbug company was Romaine Bradford and Glenn Gerardo. And so they produced the Waterbug. I bought this Waterbug back in 1993 from a police officer who could no longer manage the boat because he had an injury to his knees from directing traffic. He was clipped by a car, messed up his knees, and he had to sell it, or wanted to sell it. But he loved the boat. And so I bought it from him. He bought it brand new in '87. And so I had seen this particular design before and thought it was a very interesting design. Didn't really know anything much about it, but the boats that I had seen before the Waterbug came out was the Gheenoe. The Gheenoe looks just like this. And so when you talk about the Waterbug, you can't help but talk about the Gheenoe, which is basically the Waterbug is a copy of the Gheenoe, which came out before this. And back in the 70s and 80s, it was not uncommon for people to see a boat design and say, that looks really good. And they would think about it and say, we can tweak it here, we can do this and that to make it a little bit better. And therefore, it was not uncommon for people in that time period of the 70s and 80s to buy a boat and then make the molds for it and then move things around. Like right here is a live well. They could move that into the middle. They could make it bigger. They could change the seat positions here a little bit, put different seats in it. There were several things they could do on these boats that probably would get them away from being sued on infringement of the patent. So that was pretty common in the 70s and 80s. And what happened with the Waterbug is that basically everything that I've read and I understand, there's very little information on the Waterbug, but it is a copy of the original Gheenoe. And so they just modified it a little bit. Now, when I was looking at Waterbugs at one of the marinas, and I told the guy, I said, this looks just like a Gheenoe. And he said, well, it's better than a Gheenoe. And I said, well, why is it better than a Gheenoe? He said the reason is because it has a double layer of fiberglass, which makes it heavier, sturdier, has more integrity in the structure of the hull and so forth. And so it's a safer boat too. And so its design was to be made a lot stronger than the regular Gheenoe. And I did look at the Gheenoes back in those days, and the Gheenoe felt thin. The walls of it felt thin compared to this Waterbug here. And I'm thinking, like, if you're on the water, you want a boat that's really strong. So you would want the strongest boat, and that was one of the reasons I kind of liked the Waterbug, because it was the same thing as a Gheenoe, basically, but it was stronger built. And so in the 80s and early 90s, you didn't have internet, so there's no way to look up the history of what was going on with the Gheenoe company and with the Waterbug company. But basically, the Waterbug company took the Gheenoe, which belonged to Harley, Gheen. The Gheenoe was a creation by Harley Gheen, Gheen, Harley Gheen. He created this design. It was copied basically by Waterbug, and it was copied by other companies as well, I understand. So it was a unique design. And everything on this boat has a particular function and purpose according to Harley Gheen's design. So But talking about the water bug, I've loved this boat mainly because of its design and what it's able to do, and its aesthetics and its functions. I've taken my children, my wife, friends, relatives fishing in this boat. We've had a great time. I've had a lot of great memories in this boat here, especially in the early 90s and 2000, up to 2010 or so. And I put this boat down for probably 8 years and fished out of kayaks and did a lot of things with the kayaks over here. And I decided to put this boat back on the water, so I had to kind of refurbish it a little bit. It had been setting up for a while, and so I pressure washed the whole boat inside and out, and the seats and trailer and everything, and ended up replacing the tires on it, which were about $100, and replacing the tail lights and the whole wiring system on it, which was the cheapest thing that I got, and that was like $27-$28, and that works perfect now. And I put a light on the front of it right here, kind of a fog light. Works real well to light up the whole river if you're on the river, and let you see snakes or anything else in the water. So there are several things I've been working on to fix this boat up back the way I had it originally, and I'll show you a couple of those things. But I have a lot of great memories with the water bug. That's one of the main points I want you to know. And this is a great boat. It's an incredible boat. The company went out of business in 2005. 2005, they went out of business. The earliest that I can find the water bug dated on the internet is 1982. I don't know when it came out, but 1982 is the earliest water bug that I've read about. So maybe the company started in 82 or 81 or somewhere around there. If you know when the water bug company started, please leave me a message on that, because I can't find it anywhere. So all the things I can tell you about the water bug is just a great experience, a great story. Okay, and it's just, I love the boat, and I'm glad I got it, and I wouldn't sell it for anything in the world. And they're hard to find today. If you find one, it's going to be somebody who is not healthy enough. They have some medical problems or something. They can't manage the water bug boat. It's lightweight compared to most boats, and one person can handle this boat perfectly fine, unless you've got problems with your knees or health problems. So that's about the only time you're going to see them for sale. So that's my story about the water bug, and I love the water bug. So don't get me wrong. If you got a water bug, I love it as much as you love them, okay? But I want to give you the untold story about the water bug and the history before the water bug. Now, to be real fair and with good conscience, give credit to where credit is due. This design of the water bug, everything has a purpose in it. And this design did not come from the engineers of the water bug company. They didn't just come up with this design and say, we created everything about this design. Okay. This design was created by the maker of the Gheenoe, and that is Harley Gheen, Gheen. Harley Gheen designed this particular design that was taken by a water bug, and there are other companies that copied Harley Gheen's design. They tweaked it a little bit here and there to make it their own, and to keep from impinging on patent rights and so forth. So all the credit goes to Harley Gheen of Gheenoe for this design. So the question comes about, what is the purpose and the design of this boat? How did it come about? Well, this design, if you just pretend that this is a Gheenoe instead of a water bug, the design itself is very unique, because what happened was that Harley Gheen loved fishing, and he liked fishing in canoes too. And he turned over in his canoe because a canoe has a round type bottom, and it's easy to flip one of those over, kind of like a kayak, if you lean too far to one side. So he flipped over in a very cold water, I think maybe in the wintertime, and he got pneumonia from it, and you can die from pneumonia, right? So he was thinking about it. He loved the canoes, but he wanted a more stable design. So he started working on a stable design of a canoe. Now, Harley Gheen is a very intelligent man. He's no dummy. He worked at Kennedy Space Center as a senior designer. Okay, so that gives you an idea. This man is pretty brilliant. And so in 1960s, he started working on a design that looks similar to this here. And by 1968, he finally perfected his design. He made a 1/8 scale model, kind of like this right here. And then he made the molds and began to pour in a lot of work and money and sweat and blood in designing this particular design of boat. And the company has been in existence since 1970. It's still going strong, and they still make these types of boats. You can get them brand new today. Again, the Waterbug went out of business in 2005, so you're not going to find this type of boat by them. So there were several features, though, that Harley Gheen put into this boat, and that's what I want to talk about now. Why is this boat designed the way it is? Well, remember, Harley Gheen, Gheen, he liked the design of a canoe, and that's why you had the front end that looks like a canoe. Now, when this boat is on the water, and I'm kind of giving you an elevated view down on the boat, I got the tongue on the ground for that reason, so that when you see the boat, if you see it on the water, you're going to say that's a canoe, but it's not a canoe. He had modified it for several reasons. One, he liked the canoe front end, and that's why it's like that. That's one. Two, he wanted to stabilize a canoe with that design. And so he wanted a stable looking boat that looked like a canoe. So he put a flat bottom in the boat. That's the second thing he did. Front end looks like a canoe, put a flat bottom on the boat. That would give it great stability. That's number two. Number three, he would cut off the back end of the boat, which would be like cutting off this in the front. But he cut off the back end of the boat because when you're paddling a canoe, your arms get tired and you like to cast with a rod a lot more, right? But your arms get tired from paddling. So he thought, well, I can put a trolling motor, I can put an outboard motor, usually 5 to 10 horsepower motor, on the back of one of these boats. And so that was why he cut off the back of it. That kind of revolutionized the whole thing. These boats can go 20 miles per hour easy with a 10 horsepower motor, and even a little faster, but you need the particular motor that's rated for the size of the boat. A lot of these boats came in like 13 foot to 15 foot 4 inches in the Gheenoe. This boat is 15 foot 2 inches, which is a good sized boat, and the bigger the better on this design, as far as I'm concerned. And they make them up to 16 foot now in the Ghenoes. But so these are three major things right here. The front end looks like a canoe. The flat bottom gives it stability. The back end's cut off for a motor. That way you can just troll around, and a trolling motor will push this boat just fine. You don't really need an outboard motor. Depending on where you're at or what you're doing, you might need an outboard. But again, you can float it in 3 to 5 inches of water, which was another big thing too. So that's four things really that we could look at that are really unique. And a fifth thing, which I think is really incredible on this particular design, and I can see why some people would want to copy this design, is that when you look at the sides of the boat right here, these sides right here of the boat, they are tilted inward, kind of in a 1 o'clock position, the side of the boat right here. Tilted inward at a 1 o'clock position, kind of. And there's a reason for that. And this is Harley Gheen's design too. And I'll tell you the advantage of that. Now, if you have a regular boat, usually the side is not at 1 o'clock, it's 12 o'clock straight. If you step off a dock onto a boat, like any kind of boat that has a vertical side to it, when you step on that, it's going to push that boat down and out. It's just going to go like that, and you're going to fall into the water. A lot of boats are not vertical as much. Sometimes they're like 11:30 or 11:30 or 11 o'clock. Sides stick out at an angle. If you step on one of those boats, it's just going to push the hull down, and you're going to fall into the water, kind of like stepping on a banana peel. So, how do you overcome that? Well, with this angle right here of like a 1 o'clock position on the side of the boat, when you step on that, the center of gravity is on the inside of the floor. It changes your center of gravity to the inside of the floor, which means if you step on this rail right here, then the boat is just going to go down. It's not going to fish out from under you, slip out from under you, okay? It's just going to go down pretty much. They did have a video of, and I've seen it, of a man that weighs about 300 pounds walking just on the edge right here, like a tightrope, just on the edge. And this boat did not flip out like all other boats. And it showed that because the center of gravity is on the inside, that this boat is one of the most stable boats ever designed. Okay? So that's the purpose of the side being like it is. Now these companies that copied the Gheenoe, they tweaked them. Maybe they made them a little bit better than the original at that particular time, back in the 80s, like Waterbug. But you have to give all the credit to Harley Gheen for designing this particular design. And they just kind of modified it a little bit. Now, over the years, Gheen Manufacturing, who makes Ghenoes, and nowadays they have 7 different design boats that they make, and they've been making them for over 50 years now, and the company's still going strong. And they have all types of boats now, and they make them better than they ever did before. And you can get them with all kind of accessories, and you can buy a boat and then tweak it yourself the way you want it. But they have like transoms for your trolling motor up here that you can operate from the back or the front or both. And they have all kinds of stuff nowadays that you can get that boat fully loaded with. So much as I love the Waterbug, and it's a great boat, you have to give credit to Harley Gheen. I think Harley Gheen passed away in 2014. And personally, I'd like to thank him and his family and all those that helped make these boats for all the fun that I've had. Even though this is a copy of the original, it's still got Harley Gheen written all over it. Okay. Now this one's on a trailer, and this is called a Shoreline trailer. It's a really nice trailer. And again, when you buy your boat, you can tweak them. You can buy all the accessories now. They have a ton of accessories for these boats now, but before you had to kind of figure out what you wanted. And I'll show you a few things that I did to this boat. I'm almost through with it. I'm going to repaint it blue again, and I've got to take these numbers off and this sticker off, and I've got a brand new registration sticker for it, and I got to put the letters back on it. And I got a new tag for it, and I put new tires on it and new grease caps on the end of the hubs there. And with the wire, it came with markers that have bulbs in them and the tail lights. And I've got most of it done what I want to do. Just a few more things. I put my depth finder in it and my rod holder and so forth. But we'll look at it for just a minute here. Okay, so one of the things here is this light right here. This is a brand new light here. It's LED light. Doesn't take much battery juice for this right here. Costs about 15 bucks at Walmart. And it will light up really, really good, I'm sure. Better than what I had on here before. And especially in the rivers, you want to be able to see snakes and anything else crawling in the water. And right here, I put a new eye bolt here, and this right here is a brand new anchor release buddy system here. And what happens is that your rope goes through this hole right here and then goes over this pulley right here. And when you get in the water, you take your anchor out here and you put it hanging here on the rope. Now the way this thing comes down, it locks that rope in place so that the anchor will stay up where it's supposed to be. When you get ready to lower your anchor, and you can run the rope all the way to the back seat, and you don't need anybody in the front to put the anchor out. So what you do is you take your rope and you raise your hand up and pull it upward, and this pulls this right here upward, and then you let the rope slide through your hand, and the anchor will go all the way to the bottom, to the ground in the water. And once it hits bottom, you take the rope and pull it down. You may pull it up just a little bit, and this will lock into place, and that anchor will stay exactly where it's at. It will not move. So for one man, this is a great thing here. You can get all kinds of seats for these right here. Some of them have armrest and so forth, make it more comfortable. This right here is your live well. And it's fairly spacious right here. It's got a plug there in the center. And a lot of times I have a big ice chest up here where I put fish in and so forth. One of the ways I tweak this right here a little bit for me is that I put this piece of wood here, and I'll probably cut out this center piece right here. I'm going to put rod holders. I had a piece of wood similar to this before when I fished a lot in this boat. But I put rod holders here that hold like 3 or 4 rods, and they're just little mounts right here, and stick your rods in there. And this right here is the LED light that I bought. It's about $13, and it lights up the whole bottom of the boat. And if you're at nighttime, if it's nighttime and you're fishing in the river or something like that, and you're pulling in a fish, you want this light on so that you can see what you're pulling in the boat. You don't want to pull in a snake or an eel or something like that. The LED light's a great thing. Right here's a little piece of wood right here. That's where my depth finder goes, and it usually faces me. And so I had a nice depth finder on it before, and I'm going to put a newer one on it now. And the boat is pretty spacious for what it is. Again, 15 foot 2 inches. And on the back right here, you see you have same anchor system. And again, all you're doing is pulling the rope, and you can sit back here in the back seat and just comfortably pull your anchors up or let them down, and no worries. Down here, playing with this, I put the wood down here. This is to hold the battery. I don't want the battery all the way on the fiberglass at the bottom. And I'm going to repaint all this right here. They make a paint that's has this different colors like this. You can repaint this part right here. And on the transom we have, this wood right here was rotten, so I cut out this wood. This is a really good marine plywood right here, and put this here on the transom. You probably wouldn't know it, but I guess it's for good luck. These washers, I lost one of the washers, so I took a quarter right here and drilled a hole in the center of the quarter and used that for a washer, which is about the same size as the others. And on the back right here, this had rotted away too, pretty much. And so I replaced this with marine plywood and cut that out. And this right here is where reflectors are. I've got reflectors for it, but again, I'm going to sand the whole boat down and paint it blue again, and repaint the inside of it. And this again is a Shoreline trailer, which is a really, really good galvanized trailer. And these are the brand new tires on it. And these grease caps right here take the plastic off, and you can use a grease gun and grease it without having to take the rim and pack the bearings and all that. If you get one of these boats, you're going to, if you do any kind of river fishing, any kind of current, you're going to need these rods right here. Now I'm going to paint these up. And this rod is just welded to the frame. I got my brother to weld that. He's got a machine welding shop. And what these rods do on both sides right here, they're really great, because what they do is that if you try to load a boat from the river onto your trailer, and some ramps are deep on the river, what happens is you can get the front of the boat up to the crank on the trailer, but the current's going to pull the boat back over here. Okay, so now your boat's over here, and it's really hard to get that boat lined back up when it's just one person. So this way, you just drive the boat between these two poles right here, and get out of the boat and start cranking, and the boat can only hit these rods. This is PVC pipe. That's all that is. And so it hits that PVC pipe, and it keeps the boat from going way back over here. That way it's easy for you to load the boat. You really need that if you're doing any kind of river fishing or current fishing or whatever. So there's only a few more things I need to do to this boat. And it's got the lighted markers here too. I thought that was really nice. So I used a wire brush to kind of get the rust off anything that I needed to paint, and I still got a little bit of work to do on that. But I'm almost done with it, and I got my anchors painted up, and they look pretty good. And I've got my rope. I've got everything I need. I've got the paint. I've got everything that I need to just wait till the temperature gets really warm before I paint it. So you kind of tweak them the way you want to. And again, with this piece right here, what I do is when I'm sitting here, I have my rods leaning over here in these holes right here, and I just watch the tip of the rods. You know, when they start to move, I know which one, and get ready for catching a fish, especially, you know, fishing on the bottom of the rivers like catfish and stuff like that. So this is just a couple of things that you can do to tweak these out, and there's a lot of things you can do. And I was going to mention, I have back over here, I have a switch box that I used before. That switch box had 4 switches on it. One switch turns on the depth finder. One switch turns on this LED right here light. One switch turns on the front light right here. And one switch turns on the trolling motor. And there's a little bracket you can get where you can just tie in your battery to it. Just one circuit. And run all 4 switches that way. So that's where we're at with this boat. And when I get her painted and put the numbers and the stickers on it and everything else, I'll give you an update on that. And probably finish painting the trailer too. I'm going to try to make it look brand new again. And I might even change the seats out and put armrests. I've had seats with armrests on it before, and they're really, really helpful when you're fishing all day. I like to fish all day when I fish. Okay, guys, just wanted to share this with you on the water bug and the Gheenoe. Thanks for watching. Gary J.